Okay, Skidoo introduced the Summit G4 in 2017. We had technology of new drive clutch, new engine, new track, a lot of really good things. The problem with the 17s and the 18s is we do have, in the right conditions with certain riding styles, overheating clutches, overheating belts, and blowing belts. The downside to that is the clutches are so hot that it takes half hour to 40 minutes to let things cool off enough so that you can change the belt. It's very expensive. It potentially is hard on the engine depending on the condition when the belt blows. So we just don't want to have that problem, nor do we want to have to stop, let our sled cool down, let our clutches cool down when we're right in the middle of some awesome riding conditions. So to solve the belt issue with the 2017-2018 Summit G4, there's really three parts to it. The first part is the engine alignment and clutch alignment. The second part is the calibration of the clutches themselves. The third part is getting some airflow moving under the cab to reduce underhood temperatures, which reduces temperatures of everything, and the sled performance becomes more consistent. So to correct the alignment issue that we have, we run a straight edge through the through the driven clutch, through the drive clutch. The reason we do that is we measure the fixed half of the driven clutch to the fixed half of the drive clutch, and we have to measure the drive clutch at this position and this position. So you can see that the belly pan, this half of the belly pan is moved to open the thing up so we can easily make those measurements. Now what we're going to do to shim is we're going to move the driven clutch if we have to move it out. We have a shim setup that allows us to shim here and in the chain case, move the driven clutch away from the drive clutch if that's what we need to do. We also have shimming available for the far side of the engine, the mag side of the motor, where we can now tip the motor a little bit this way if we need to do that. So now the next part of the solution is to come up with a calibration for the driven clutch and drive clutch that reduces heat. To get calibration correct in the driven clutch and drive clutch, we have to use a little bit of math, we have to use a little bit of science, but in the end what we really have to do is ride it and see how it performs in the conditions that we're riding in. So good clutching comes from testing of many different helixes, secondary springs, primary ramps, the weight in the drive clutch, because the combination has to work together. So eventually when we're done with the math and science, we go ride it and then we come up with the correct calibration for the two clutches. That's what we have here. So the first part of our convection airflow is having a low cool air intake to the clutches. Also, if the sled is moving, we can have airflow through these vents. These vents are made by SLP, and this particular material is waterproof, water resistant, so we can place that right directly in front of the clutches with no worries of water or snow getting onto the clutches. Next part is modifying the clutch cover so that we can get air moving and so the hot air can get out of it as opposed to stacking in the top of it. So the very first thing we do is we cut out the Skidoo do not remove this piece right here. So we cut that out so we don't have to look at it anymore. We also now have air able to come through these, escape through here. We've added these few holes to the top of the belt guard as well, so the hot air can come through the bottom and then through the clutches and cool. The next part is we have to let the hot air out of the top of the sled. So we've added a couple more vents here. Okay, we've also added these holes in the top of this panel here. There's lots of airflow under there. it's wide open. So we now have, again, the cold air coming in from the bottom and the hot air able to rise out to top. So it will cool stationary when it's parked, or it'll cool when it's operating and you have a little bit of ground speed. That's our solution to the belt issue. If you have a problem, we certainly can help, or if you just want to improve the performance of your sled with some good clutching calibration, we can do that as well. Give us a call, hit us on our email. Thank you.